So in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about how to turn bad days into good days, and not only bad days, but bad times into good times. And this is something that I discovered when I was going through extremely dark times in my life and I wanted to actually commit suicide. I wasn't thinking from a very serious point of view, but like occasionally thought would come like, what's the point of all of this? I'm suffering so much that let's just, and it wasn't a serious thought, but this thought used to come in my mind. So it had become really dark and really nasty in my life around. And nothing that I wanted was happening. Nothing was going as I wanted in my life. And really, I was starting to lose hope. I had started to lose energy, and I started to lose enthusiasm, creativity, and I was just completely resigned from life. And I really didn't, I started to question my whole existence. So if you're someone who's having those types of really dark days, or maybe not those that dark, but still dark enough, then watch this video till the end, because I'm going to tell you exactly how to get out of it and exactly how you can step by step out of that whole situation, okay, and transform your life and actually create your life. So it's really a video to exercise your power that has been given to you as a human being, the power of your mind and the energy that you have, how to use that to get yourself out of these bad spots, bad situations. So step number one is you got to take 100% responsibility. Typically, when something doesn't go the way we want, it's typically a sign of a lack of control. Okay, there is an area of your life where you have not exercised control, where you have not imposed your will into that situation and made that situation the way you wanted that situation to be. So there is some sense of resignation, that you have resigned from that problem, that you know what, this is too complex, this is too messy for me to deal with, and I'm not going to deal with it. And whenever that happens, whenever you resign from a situation, you think that that situation will go away because you are kind of away from it, but that situation actually becomes worse because the problems just keep increasing, and the bigger the problems get, the more you don't want to deal with it. So it's really a death cycle. It's a vicious cycle where you don't want to deal with it. If you don't deal with it, the problems become really big to a point where you cannot even ignore it, and it consumes you completely, right? So you want to make sure that you take full responsibility first before you do anything else. You got to assume responsibility. You got to assume power over that situation, that I am going to fix this. It is in my power to do it, and I'm going to exercise that will. Just try it on. Just try this little technique. I'm responsible, and let me now fix it, and let me now resolve this situation, and it's in my control. You take that position first. Second is the diagnosis of the problem. So I'll give you an example. I was working with my brother. I was extremely unhappy, and the issue was that I didn't want to work with him, and because I was not aligned with the vision that he had, and I did not have enough incentive, and he was not going to give me more incentive, and I wasn't aligned with the vision. So every single task that he gave me was not completed by me because I wasn't aligned. And what he would say is that you are lazy, and that's the reason you're not doing the task. And I would say, no, I just don't want to do the task. And he said that you don't want to do anything. And I said, no, that's not the case. I want to do something, but I want to do something of my own. And he would say that, no, we are brothers. And, he would try to drag me to do this thing that I don't want to do. And as a result, he would give me things and I wouldn't do them. And he would get mad, and he would call me lazy, and he would call me irresponsible, and he would call me all sorts of names, disrespect me. And I had a couple of years where this was a common theme. So what you want to look for is a recurring theme. Is there a recurring theme in your bad days or bad times? Is something of a very typical sort happens when you are having a bad time? Is there a common theme around things when they don't go wrong? And I want you to write them down. And I want you to write down where your source of unhappiness comes from, and where you have a whole bunch of problems lying around which you don't want to deal with, and it has been there in your life for a long time, but you don't deal with it. Maybe it's a weight problem, that you're overweight. Maybe it's a conflict with a family member. Maybe it's debt. Maybe it's expenses, too much expenses. Maybe it's taxes. Maybe it's the laws. Maybe it's your girlfriend. Whoever that is, whatever that thing is, I want you to identify it first. The diagnosis of the problem, if you just, and we try to solve things in our minds here, but what we should be doing is solve it on pieces of paper. Writing it down will make you see it. You can't see something when it's in your head. It's just a blob of inconvenience. But when we write things down, that's when we are able to see it. I mean, can you do 5 into 68 into 59.5? You can't do that. But if you write it down on a piece of paper, you may be able to find a solution to that little problem. So what makes you think that the big problems of your life can be solved right here, purely in your head? No, you will have to write it down. You will have to write it down on a piece of paper what the issue is. It could be related to relationships. It could be related to money. It could be related to health. It could be related to your happiness. It could be related to your time. Your time is going in an area or in a situation or a project that you are not even aligned with. And as a result, you don't have time to do things that you really do want to do. So all of this shows up when you write things down. So what I would do is, once I have taken responsibility that I'm going to solve this, I will write it down. I will identify, and diagnose. Right? When you go to a doctor, you go for a test, and then the doctor looks at the problem and then offers a solution. So first thing would be identification. And it's really, when I sat down, I realized that what my brother was proposing, the reason I wasn't aligned with it is because it wasn't probably in the best interest of other people. And it was a very strange thing when I said it to him, and he said, so what? It will benefit us. And I was like, I still don't want to do it. I just didn't feel congruent with that whole thing. And I just felt resigned, and I just didn't want to do it, but I was just stuck in that situation. So once I found the issue, it's not that you would be able to leave out of that situation immediately, right? But now you know what the problem is, and now you can start to develop the solution. And then I realized, okay, why am I not able to, and I tried to walk away out of that situation many times, but I wasn't able to do it. So I was like, why is it that I'm not able to walk away from that situation? And then I realized, wait a second, I'm financially dependent on him. And he was actually paying me to do work, and I'm financially dependent on him, and that was a big problem. So how do I get financially dependent on myself? I will have to start a business. Well, I don't know anything about starting a business. I started a couple of companies and they failed. So, okay, I don't know how to start a business. So then I need to learn how to start a business. Who can teach me? And I went on YouTube. I started to look for mentors. And that's when I started to do a whole bunch of courses. And then I was like, what skills do I need? I realized I don't have a lot of skills. I can't even get my work done. So then I started to learn about productivity. Then I was like, how do I get people, And I started to learn about marketing, sales. And this is the time when I started, and I said, I don't even have a business model. And then I started to go look for business models. And then I found a business model that could get me $10,000 a month. And I started to see what skills do I need, and I did a program, and I figured out how to do it. And I was like, this is really cool. I figured out how to do it. And I was very happy. And I was like, but this is too less, I want something really big. I want the big dreams, right? And I want to make hundreds of millions of dollars. Who could teach me that, Now the survival thing is sorted, but now I want, something really big. And that's when I discovered Dan Pena. So it's really, if you start identifying problems and then solutions start to come up, you identify the problem and then you identify what do you want in that area and why you don't have what you want in that area. And in going through this introspection, writing things down, identifying problems and writing solutions, or writing what's the solution. So the problem is I don't have a business model. So the solution is finding someone who does. Or I don't have enough income. Where does the income come from? It comes from people signing up for your products or services, or or starting a business. When you start a business, you need customers, right? So I don't have enough customers. So the problem of customers is related to sales and marketing. So if I work on sales and marketing, then I can have customers, right? So, or I always lose deals. So maybe I'm not trained in negotiation because I just don't want to I don't like fighting for money, why would I have to fight for money, right? So then I don't know how to do negotiation. So I need to learn how to do negotiation. So if you don't have what you want, there is always a reason for it. There is something you did, there's something you didn't do. And if you just sit down and write it down, diagnose the problem, identify the problem, write it on a piece of paper. There has not been one single time where I wrote a problem on a piece of paper and I did not come up with a solution for it. Not once this has happened. Every single time I have written the problems down. Over time, I have found a solution for it. The only time I can't find a solution for something is when I'm not sitting down and I'm not writing it down and I'm not identifying it and I'm not exercising control over that situation. And magic happens when you sit down with yourself, with your notes or pieces of paper and writing it down. What is it that's bothering you? What is it that you want? And what are the challenges you face to get what you want? And as you do this day in and day out in different areas of your life, you will sort out your relationship problems, your health problems, your money problems, your marketing problems, your business related problems, your conflicts with your business partners. Food is a big thing, right? You're not eating what you want, right? Even something as simple as food, you will solve that problem also. I mean, the bad days doesn't happen just because of one reason. There is a combination of reasons, and a lot of the times all of this is interlinked. It's like a disease that has taken form, and it needs to be really analyzed, sit down and worked at and completely solved. And it's a gigantic puzzle of life, right? That you would sit down and you would solve it. And once you solve it, you would just see that all the factors that were making you feel low, making you feel sad, making you feel upset, depressed, triggered, are gone, are just gone. And sometimes you may have to eliminate some situations out of your life. So I had to, for some time, keep my brother at a distance while I was building this thing. And then when I started to build a business, he started to cause problems there also. Why are you doing it like this? It's the wrong way. Or why are you doing? It started to put these doubts in my mind, And sometimes those types of relationships, you got to keep some distance. And then things turn out, you work on that thing, you build. Once you have the result, maybe you can go back and reestablish that relationship and recreate that relationship in a new relationship, or you just let it go. There are many relationships that I completely let go, and there are some relationships that I went back to and I renegotiated the terms and the dynamic, and then it was a different relationship. So why am I talking about relationships? Because that's a big part of having a lot of problems in your life. And that's one area I would look at very closely, because our problems come from relationships with other people. Things don't have so much power to cause pain to us, right? This little object right here, it doesn't have a lot of power to bother me. But a human being, another person, can start to create problems, and that can trigger several other problems. So that's the step: taking 100% responsibility first, deciding you want to exercise control in this area, you want to exercise your power and your will. Second is identifying both the problem, the challenge, and also what you want in that area. And diagnosis, that's the diagnosis, right? Identification and diagnosis. And then you will have solution. Sometimes it's going to be eliminating that whole, relationship or whatever it is that's bothering you. And that could be one solution or some other solution. So then you will write down solutions to those problems. And then you may discover that you have some skill gaps. You want to be trained. You may want to get some help, some outside help to solve that problem. Maybe you identify someone who has already solved the problem. That's another step, where you find someone who has already solved the problem. Maybe that person is in your friend circle. Maybe that person is online. Maybe that person is in a book somewhere where you read it and you solve that problem, right? And once you start identifying problems, you will find solutions, because internet is a big library. Your friend circle, I'm sure it's big enough for you to make some calls and get that thing sorted. Or you could do it on your own if that's within your limits of power, within your range of power to solve it. You could do it like that, and then you would have that thing solved, and you won't have that bad time, bad days. And bad times are really created by a combination of many things that are not going well. So I want to set the right expectation here. It's not about identifying 2 or 3 things. Problems are there in every single area, and they're interconnected with each other. And there are a series of problems that you may have to solve. And it may take some time, but you'll get out of it. So if that video helped you, hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you soon.